The rain hammered down in sheets, a relentless assault that turned the streets of Willow Creek into rivers of mud and menace. Inside our rented bungalow, the world felt like it was closing in, the air thick with the kind of dread that sticks to your bones. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter, slicing through the storm's roar like a warning shot. The caller ID read, unknown, but I answered anyway, my gut already twisting. MS. Harper. The voice was clipped, cold, like it belonged to someone who enjoyed delivering bad news. This is the Willow Creek HOA. You've been fined due law $300 for illegal dumping. We have you on camera. Payment is due in 5 days, or we escalate. My heart lurched. Illegal dumping? Me? I stammered. There's got to be a mistake, but the line went dead, Leah VYing only the storm's growl, and a sinking feeling that this was just the beginning. My name's Ellie Harper, and I'd been VYing in Willow Creek, a gated slice of suburban perfection for 9 months with my partner, Nate Collins. The house was a gem. 2 bedrooms, a postage stamp yard where we coaxed tomatoes and basil to life, and a commute so short I could almost bike to my graphic design gig downtown. But perfection came with a price, and in Willow Creek, that price was the HOA. They weren't just a homeowners association. They were a regime led by a woman named Marjorie Tate, who wielded her clipboard like a scepter. From the moment we moved in, I'd noticed the cameras perched above the community dumpsters black, unblinking eyes with red LEDs that pulse day and night. A sign screamed, "Area under surveillance. Illegal dumping fines up to due law $500. Nate had laughed it off, tossing our first trash bag with a mock salute. Big Brother's got nothing on us, he'd said. I'd smirked, but the cameras unnerved me, like they were waiting for us to slip. That rainy afternoon, the fine hit us like a sucker punch. I called Nate, who was elbow deep in code at his tech job. $300? He sputtered. For what? We recycle like monks. We hadn't tossed anything suspicious, no paint cans, no busted furniture, nothing that could have triggered the HOA's wrath. I marched to the property manager's office, a guy named Greg Palmer, who rented us the place. Greg was usually laid back, but today his jaw was tight. The HOA's got footage, Ellie. Time-stamped. You owe me the fine, per the lease, or I'm on the hook. I pushed back, demanding to see the VY Deo, but he just shrugged. Talk to Marjorie. She's the gatekeeper. The HOA office sat at the community's entrance, a squat brick building with blinds always drawn, like it was hiding secrets. Inside, Marjorie Tate ruled from behind a desk that looked like it belonged in a museum-polished wood, stacks of folders aligned with military precision. She was in her late 50s, with a silver pixie cut sharper than her tongue and eyes that could pin you like a butterfly. When I walked in, her smile was all teeth, no warmth. MS. Harper, she said, her voice honeyed venom. I assume you're here about the fine? I nodded, keeping my tone even. There's a mistake, Marjorie. We didn't dump anything illegal. Can I see the footage? Her smile didn't budge, but her eyes flicked to her computer. That requires a formal request. Board approval. 2 weeks minimum. I pointed out the fine was due in 5 days. She leaned back, smug. Rules are rules, dear. That night, Nate and I sat at our kitchen table, the rain still pounding, our laptops open as we scoured the lease and state tenant laws. The HOA's power was ironclad, but we found a crack. Landlords had to VY to proof before passing fines to tenants. Armed with this, I fired off an email to Greg, quoting the law and refusing payment without EVY Denke. Nate raised an eyebrow. You're poking the bear, Ellie. I grinned, hitting send. Let the bear poke back. Marjorie's stonewalling was an art form. Over the next week, my calls to the HOA office were met with excuses that bordered on absurd. The footage is in VYEW, she'd say, or the system's down. Once, she claimed I'd misfiled the request form I'd hand-delivered. Greg, meanwhile, was losing patience, texting daily about the fine. HOA's breathing down my neck, Ellie. Pay up, or I had late fees. The pressure was suffocating, but GIVYing and felt like admitting guilt for a crime we hadn't committed. We dissected our trash habits, second-guessing every bag we tossed. Had we slipped up? Misread a rule? The not-knowing gnawed at me, waking me at 3 a.m. to mentally catalog our garbage like some paranoid detective. Then came the letters. The first was polite, a reminder of the unpaid fine. The second hinted at legal action. The third was a gut punch, threatening to report us to Greg as lease breakers, which could tank our rental history. Marjorie was playing hardball, and she wasn't alone. Whispers from neighbors painted her as a tyrant who ruled renters with an iron fist while turning a blind eye to homeowners' violations. "She fined me for a birdhouse," our neighbor Clara confided, her voice low. Said it was unapproved decor. "But Mr. Jensen's tacky lawn flamingos?" Not a peep. Clara's story lit a fire in me. This wasn't just about use it was about a system rigged to bully. Desperate for leverage, I dug deeper into Willow Creek's underbelly. A retired lawyer down the street, Mr. Callahan, offered a tip over coffee one morning. HOAs hate exposure, he said, eyes glinting. Threatened to go public local news, social media. They'll squirm. I took his ad VYC, drafting a post for the community's online forum, careful not to name names, but clear about the fine and Marjorie's refusal to show EVY Denke. I hesitated, knowing it could backfire, but Nate nodded. "Do it. Let's see who blinks first." The post went live at midnight. By morning, it had 47 comments, neighbors venting about Marjorie's reign of terror. "She fined me for a crack in my driveway," one wrote. "My kid's chalk art got us a due law 100 citation," another added. The forum buzz gave us momentum, but it also painted a target on our backs. Marjorie called me the next day, her voice icy. "Public accusations are a violation of community standards. A mess. Harper, the fines now do law 400 for noncompliance." I laughed, unable to stop myself. "Show me the VY Deo, Marjorie, and I'll pay you in gold bars." The breakthrough came unexpectedly. Greg, cornered by my legal threats and the forum's uproar, leaned on the HOA board. They relented, agreeing to let one of us VYEW the Footage copies, no phones in their office. Nate went, slipping past Marjorie's glare to a cramped room with a flickering monitor. When he called me an hour later, his voice was a mix of disbelief and triumph. "Ellie, it's not us. It's some guy 40s, balding, tossing construction debris. Timestamp says 9 a.m. Last Monday. I was in a sprint meeting, and you were at yoga." I gripped the phone, my mind racing. Construction debris? Wait, didn't Greg mention his brother-in-law was renovating one of his rentals? Nate paused. "Holy, you're right." Greg had bragged about his brother-in-law, Tony, flipping houses nearby. I'd never met Tony, but I'd seen a photo on Greg's desk, a stocky guy with a receding hairline. "Did you get proof?" I asked. Nate chuckled. "Snuck a pic when Marjorie stepped out. It's blurry, but it's him." The photo was grainy, but the man's face matched Tony's. He was dumping broken tiles and paint rollers into the dumpster, glancing over his shoulder like he knew he was breaking rules. I called Greg, my voice calm but razor sharp. "We saw the VY Deo. It's Tony, your brother-in-law. Care to explain why we're paying for his mess?" The silence on the line was deafening. When Greg spoke, he sounded like a man deflating. I didn't know. Tony was supposed to use a private SARE VYC for debris. "I'll fix this, Ellie. The fine's off." But I wasn't done. The next morning, Nate and I stormed the HOA office, the photo printed in crisp black and white. Marjorie's face went pale as I slid it across her desk. "This is your clear EVY Denke," I said, my voice steady. "Tony Palmer, caught red-handed. Yet you fined us without checking. Care to apologize?" The office was packed, neighbors picking up permits, pretending not to eavesdrop. Marjorie stammered. The footage wasn't conclusive. Nate cut her off, dropping more printouts. Conclusive enough to extort us for weeks. The room buzzed. A woman in line whispered, "About time someone called her out." I pressed on, demanding written confirmation that the fine was voided and our record cleared. Marjorie's hands shook as she typed, her authority crumbling under the weight of her own mistake. "The board will re-VYEW," she muttered. I smiled, leaning in. Tell them we're happy to chat with a lawyer or the local paper about your EVY denke handling process. A man behind us snorted, and Marjorie's face turned beet red. 3 days later, an HOA letter arrived, dripping with legalese but clear. The fine was gone, our record spotless. They threw in a $75 gift card to a local diner, which felt like a grudging nod. Greg, desperate to save face, waived our water bill for 2 months and swore Tony would never touch Willow Creek again. The neighborhood buzzed with our VY Tory. Clara, the birdhouse rebel, brought us zucchini bread, grinning. "You slayed the dragon," she said. Even Mr. Callahan tipped his hat, murmuring, "Well played." Marjorie avoided us like we carried plague, her eyes glued to her desk whenever we passed. The dumpster's red lights still blinked, but they'd lost their menace, a reminder we'd stared down the machine and won. At the community picnic that spring, I caught the board president muttering about tighter footage protocols after the Harper incident. Nate squeezed my hand, smirking. "We're legends now." When our lease renewal came, Greg offered a discount to keep USA bribe we took with a grin. Willow Creek wasn't perfect, but it was home, and we'd carved out our place in it. Sometimes I glance at those cameras and think, power only holds if you let it. We didn't, and that made all the difference. If you were the one in this story, how would you react? Would you stand up and fight back, or accept the unreasonable pressure and control from the HOA? Share your thoughts in the comments below. And don't forget to subscribe, like, and share this VY Deo with more people. Your small action gives us the motivation to keep bringing you more intense and engaging stories. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next VY Deo.